Hello and welcome once again. Yes, to yet another recording of myself playing the daily challenge. Today we have a Hinterlands and Intrigue kingdom. And as I did yesterday, I will go over the cards very briefly in the beginning. So if you're not interested in that, you can skip to the timestamp that I'll provide for the kingdom analysis. What do we have here? Well, as I said, all of the cards are from Hinterlands and Intrigue, and the first thing that we notice when going through these cards is the absence of plus buy. But as this is part of the kingdom analysis, I'll come back to this. The cards we do have here are Mining Village, which is a village type card, and with the extra benefit of enabling us to trash it for +2 once. Then we do have Mill, a card and an action, also worth 1 victory point, and we may discard 2 cards for 2 money. Tunnel is a card we can discard with that. If we discard it, we may gain a gold, and it's also 2 victory points. Farm is also worth 2 victory points, and also on play we get 2 money. Stables enables us to discard treasures for +3 cards in an action, essentially being a special type of laboratory. Trading Pose lets us trash 2 cards to gain a silver to our hand immediately, while Develop lets us trash a card from our hand to top deck 2 cards, and those 2 cards have to be one that is costing exactly 1 less and 1 more. So for example, we can play Develop on a tunnel and trash a tunnel, which costs 3, and we gain a courtyard and a mill, for example. Or if there's no card, for example, costing 1 less, like when trashing a courtyard or an estate, then we just gain a card costing 3. Courtyard has a very moat-like effect. We essentially get +2 cards because we draw 3 cards but put a card onto our deck from our hand. Then there is In, +2 cards, +2 actions, and we have to discard 2 cards, so it nets us 1 negative card, essentially. And when we gain it, we can shuffle an arbitrary amount of action cards from our discard pile into our deck. Cartographer is the last one to describe, which lets us draw a card and get our action back, and then look at the top 4 cards, and we can rearrange and discard any number of them, and then, yeah, be done with it. So with that, let's get to the kingdom analysis part. Well, the first thing we should notice when going over these cards is that there is no plus buy. So we will only be able to buy 1 province or 1 card per turn. This is somewhat limiting, and it means that we need to be a little quicker with our build than otherwise. There are, however, cards that can gain us more cards during our turns. There's Develop, which can let us gain 2 cards by trashing 1. And there's Tunnel, which we can discard to gain a gold. I think Tunnel won't be as important here. There might be a situation where we would gain a tunnel to get a few golds in our deck, but golds are not super great here, as soon as we have the 8 money to buy provinces, we'll be happy. But yeah, Develop is going to be super important because it will enable us to really kick off with the gaining. There's also Trading Post for trashing. It will let us trash, for example, 2 estates for silver in an optimal case, and in a less optimal case, it will let us trash coppers and make them worth more and thin down a bit. And there's Stables for draw, and also the combination of Mining Village and Courtyard for draw. Both are not super great. I mean, Stables is quite nice, but also always suffers from the fact that you sometimes end up with hands that have only stables in them and no treasures, and then you're very sad that you have all of these dead cards in hand. what is going to be our game plan here? Well, I think the idea is to get our deck thin and robust as quick as possible. And there are multiple ways to facilitate this. One is getting a trading post to get rid of the estates, or getting a develop to get rid of the estates. I think early on the develop is not going to be super great because it will only let us top deck another develop for an estate. So getting our hands on an early trading post might be really nice. But later on, develop will be really good for trashing, for example, a silver and gaining a mining village and a courtyard right onto the top of our deck. For the start here, there are multiple possibilities. We could, for example, already get to develop in our deck. But if we want to hit 5 for a trading post or stables, I think courtyard is a little better. There's also mill to ensure that we hit 5, because basically if we have the mill in our hand, we can discard 2 cards and immediately have 5. Now, our draw is a bit unfortunate, I'd say, because if we see the courtyard in the first hand, and not 5 with it. 5 would be optimal, because then the next turn we could trigger the shuffle to get to trading post. But here I think I'm just going to go for mining village, because when we shuffle, playing this mill, we'll have mining village and the courtyard into our deck. And we get rid of 2 estates here. Getting to 5 for a trading post. I think we're also fairly likely to hit 5 now. Or are we? There is going to be 1 more copper and the mining village on top. Well, let's see what we draw. Now we draw another estate. And now the question is, how much do we trust that our trading post hasn't bottom decked? If it has bottom decked, then we really do want to top deck the mining village right now, because then we'll find it guaranteed. But it would also be nice to pair it with 2 estates. I'm going to say it's nicer to just be sure, put a mining village back, and now we can get our first develop in. It's a bit annoying that we haven't. Oh, see how great of a plan that was. The trading post is indeed on the bottom. It's a bit sad that we haven't really gotten to trash anything yet. So this is our first trash, getting rid of 1 estate and basically turning 1 copper into a silver. But yeah, what can you do? This is kind of dependent on the draws. Now, here we also have a decision to make. We could play the mining village and draw into whatever comes, or we could just play the develop, trash the mining village for stables and maybe a silver. And I think I prefer playing the mining village over that, just because there's going to be too much good stuff there, and we get rewarded for it by being able to turn 2 coppers into a silver. Now we could either trash another copper, or we can just develop the silver into mining village courtyard to kick off our next turn. These estates are somewhat of a nuisance. Now what is the last card there? Is the question. The last card should be I think just another copper. In any case, I think we are fine to draw this. Discard 2 estates for money. Now there are arguments for playing the courtyard. In this shuffle, there is the develop. There's 2 mining villages. There is the trading posts, and we just put the estates in with it. But we could also get a very sad draw with that, so I think I prefer to just go ahead and buy a stables to maybe kick off the draw for the next shuffle. here we can just play the mining village, then be a little sad that that we do not get great draws, but we still get to top deck mining village courtyard once again, and we can gain another, buy another mining village. Just having a lot of villages is great here, as you will see. For the later turns, I think. Now, do we want to... Yeah, we don't want to discard this copper back into the shuffle, so we play the mining village first here, and then, only then, play the stables. That was my decision there. Now, since we do have these estates left, we can actually just go ahead and get another develop into our deck, because that's also why having all of those villages is great. Now we can use we can first draw up, and now there's a decision to make once again. I think it's just fine turning this mill into stables and the silver on top of our deck. Turn these two cards into silver and just buy a mill, because then we'll be able to turn this mill into stable silver once again. And this just enabled us to have a somewhat strong start for this turn, hopefully. Let's see. Stables is always a little scary. And now we do need to be quite cognizant of piles. There is only 4 develops left and 2 courtyards. I know that the AI has a lot of develops in its deck, so it's potentially scary. So we should definitely get a province this turn. The question is how we are going to achieve that. I think we want to get rid of our trading post, as it really has done all that was useful for it. And with the trading post, we can already gobble up a few victory points. Well, wait, I kind of top deck this without thought. I think I want to top deck a copper here. We can turn the trading post into farm and mill. Then play this courtyard, top deck whatever, a mill, and play all of our cards. Now we do have enough to buy a province here, which is great, and we can once again kickstart the next turn by top decking stables and silver. It's reassuring that we're up in points right now. I think the AI is doing a good job of maneuvering this. It maybe goes a little too hard on develops, but it managed to build a very stable deck there. Now we really need to be careful. There is not that much stuff left. And we also need to be sure that we don't lower the mills anymore. Now, hopefully we actually get drawing here. Nice. We find our courtyard. And we can use this courtyard to now top deck a stables. Actually, we can still do this at a later point. I think I like... So my thoughts right now are, how do we get to 8 while also maybe kickstarting our next turn, while also making sure that the AI cannot just gain 3 mills and a courtyard and somehow win the game. How do we facilitate this? So I just top deck the stables, but I can also just top deck a different card. Now, if we were to... Yeah, I don't think there's any way for us to win the game with the point lead right now. Because, like, we could, of course, well, we could, of course, just develop 2 silvers, for example, into mills and courtyard and buy the last mill. But this is short in points. Even if we gain 1 estate with one of the mills, we would have 3, 4 extra victory points, which would leave us short. We can, however, maybe... let me draw through. And yes, what do we do? I think just getting some victory points in our deck is great. We can draw this tunnel, discard it. We do not want a gold at this point, I think. Yes. And develop a silver for... Our last cards are coppers. It doesn't look really good for next turn. I think I've probably done the mistake of yeah, kind of overextending here. Our options really are not that great. In the end, I believe maybe just developing the copper and buying the province will be the safest option. Yeah, sorry for not commenting that much there. There was a lot going through my head because that was kind of, yeah, scary. But now we might be in a position to end the game here in a favorable way. Let's see what we draw. Now, I could also already burn these mining villages, but I'm fairly sure that we will be able to hit 8 anyways, so I won't be doing that. Now, if we draw our 2 develops, we have already won. Nice. Because we can turn this silver into mill estate and use our money to buy the last mill. Now, I think this was a very, very scary kingdom. This was much closer than I anticipated, but I think the AI also did a great job of contesting everything, having those mining villages, developing stuff into better stuff, although the number of courtyards is a bit too high, and it really shouldn't have bought this courtyard. Although I think on its last turn it just had very little money. Yeah, maybe an estate would have been the better option, but that wouldn't have changed much in the end. Yes, this was, as I said, this was kind of scary. What could the AI and what could I have done better here? I think getting more stables in sooner would have been nice, but then also I didn't hit 5 that much in the beginning. So I think I'm happy with prioritizing trading posts over the early stables. Getting my develop in somewhat late was a good decision. I think we even saw the develop at the same time as the trading posts in the end. Yeah, the early draws, I would say, didn't work out in the way I pictured them, but that's Dominion for you. You got to adapt to what is presented to you, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think today it worked just well enough to overtake the AI here, but yeah, had the AI not gained that, actually had the AI not bought that last courtyard, but rather an estate, or not, that doesn't make any sense. But had the AI been able to buy a province, we wouldn't have been able to end the game with a victory point lead. And then it might have become a little more dicey, with both of our draws becoming more scarce in face of all of those victory points. But yeah, let me know what you think. And as one last treat maybe, I can show you my plot of today's kingdom. I forgot this in the beginning, I think. But yeah, this basically shows a lot of the things that were going on here. There was some village, some draw, some thinning, and some gains, but no plus buy meant that we really had to be careful. In any case, I hope this rambling style in the end over what I could have done better or what I could not have done better was interesting to you. I also just realized that I forgot to discuss the different openings. I think on a 5-2 opening, I would just buy trading post courtyard and hope to find the trading post ASAP. I think it's superior to the mill courtyard opening by a long stretch, because getting a trading post into the deck early is much more valuable than getting it into the deck late. But yeah, that's been it. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.